Alright guys, welcome back. So hopefully you watched the Druid video that I put out yesterday, because there was a bit of an intro to what this new series of videos are about, so feel free to go check that out. I won't bang on about it too much here, just, you know, top level view of what the video is going to be about is why should you be brought to raids, you know, in TBC. What's unique about your class, or what's unique about your spec. I'm going to do one for every class, so, you know, keep checking back to see if yours comes up, or if you like, you know, subscribe and all that stuff, ring the bell, you'll get notifications when I put videos out anyway. So in which case, you know, wait to see when you see the rogue one drop if you're a rogue, and then, you know, you'll be able to just watch that one and not worry about any of the others if you don't want to, you know, sit through 15 to 20 minutes about a class that doesn't really interest you. So today's is the priest. So we're going to look at what priest abilities, you know, what abilities do they bring to the raid as each different spec. It should be fairly quick because there's not much difference between, you know, holy, disc, shadow. Obviously, a big difference between shadow and holy/disc, but we're only looking really at two sort of specs. You know, we're looking at healing or we're looking at DPS, so it shouldn't take too long. So as I say, I won't drag this on any longer. You know, thanks for the support, thanks for watching over on Twitch, and, you know, catching the live streams on here and on YouTube and everything. So yeah, it's much appreciated. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so let's get into this. So you know what we're looking at. Obviously you've seen the intro. So we'll start with just what does every priest get. So the basic sort of abilities that you're going to bring to a raid that are going to be useful. So Shackle Undead might surprise you a little bit. You might be like, well, why are we even talking about that? There's loads of undead in, especially like Karazhan. You know, having Shackle in the raid, you could almost say is a requirement, because it just makes certain trash pulls and everything just so much easier. Well, boss fights like Morrows as well. You know, you want shackles, otherwise you're running around with hunters trying to trap and whatever else. So, an absolute godsend is to have a priest shackle, and it doesn't matter what your spec is, you're going to have this. Then Mind Soothe, which I'm smiling now. I smiled when I put this on because most people don't even have it on their bar because they think it's useless, but you are going to save loads of time in Karazhan specifically with Mind Soothe, because you can skip mobs, and, you know, it's really useful in dungeons as well for skipping trash. You know, if you just want to get your badges of justice and just get from boss to boss to boss as quick as possible, yeah, having Mind Soothe, even 2 Mind Soothes in a party, is amazing. So definitely, in addition to any raid, is having a Mind Soothe. Fear Ward goes without saying. Obviously, Fear Ward's brilliant. You know, used to be just dwarf only. Now every priest gets Fear Ward, so that's, you know, really nice. There's so many encounters that fear, so you can keep it on yourself or on the tank, you know, whichever's more required at the time. You've got Power Word Fortitude. You know, that's just a given. You know, that's just your buff that you bring, but still, if you didn't have Power Word Fortitude in a raid, would that be good? I'd probably say not, because, you know, it's a big amount of stamina. Shadow protection, so there's a lot of, you know, shadow damage fights, or, you know, casters that do heavy shadow damage, so, you know, having that extra 70 resistance on everybody in the raid, for me, you know, is what making it worthy of a spot as well. And then I only really wanted to include Symbol of Hope. So if we read Symbol of Hope, greatly increases the morale of party members, giving them 33 mana per 5 over 15 seconds. So, yeah, it's nice. It's not massive, you know, but it's still a decent amount of mana back for the party. Now this is Draenei only, so Draenei only priest. So probably Draenei is a good option to go as a priest. I know this is not like a what class should you play really video, but I thought it was worth mentioning. And then I've put the other one on there, which is the Blood Elf equivalent, which is just rubbish, to be honest with you. Diff spells 1 magical effect, you know, to give you mana back, which, to be fair, the effect you'll dispel off yourself will probably cost more than the mana you get back. But, you know, I had to include it because I put Symbol of Hope on, basically. That's the only reason it appeared on here. So, you know, looking at some of these, as I say, from a Karazhan perspective, that's where we'll start, because inevitably that's going to be the first raid you probably step foot in during TBC. So, you know, Shackle Undead and Mind Soothe you're going to use a lot. Fear Ward is really useful as well, obviously, on multiple fights. I'm not going to sit here and list them all, but I wouldn't want to go to any raid without a priest of some description in the group. But let's now look more at the healing abilities. So I'm going to go look at healing abilities and then look at shadow specifically, but I will try and differentiate between discipline abilities and holy abilities. But if we move on to the healing abilities, so obviously these are just a few heals that we're going to talk about. So I've left off like Prayer of Healing. We know what it does. It's a big AoE heal. But I just want to show you how vast the healing toolkit is of a priest in TBC. So you have got a heal for pretty much any situation. They're God mode healers, in my opinion. Even if you're not top of the healing meters because Resto Druids, are just padding, you're still, I would argue, more useful because you can just get entire raids out of a bad situation fairly quick. So Binding Heal, is really good. Most healers have to make that decision: do they heal the tank or do they heal themselves? If there's heavy damage going on and you're like, oh no, like one of us is going to die, you normally have to try and pick, do I just try and spam heal the tank and then I'll take one for the team, or do I heal myself and then the tank dies and then we're probably all going to wipe? You don't have to make that decision as a priest because you get Binding Heal in TBC. So you can heal the tank and yourself, and it's low threat as well, which is good. So it's quite expensive, but it's a very efficient heal. As I say, if you're on even if you're on sort of 30, I don't know, if you've lost 20% health, say you're on 80% health and the tank's going down quick, you can be using your greater heals on him to keep him up, and then just throw a Binding Heal in just to top yourself off as well, which is what I use it for. So you can get some really, really effective healing out of Binding Heal. I'm not going to bore you by talking about every healing ability because we know greater heal, you'll probably use 3 or 4 different ranks of this because it's mana efficient, long cast, gets good, good coefficients with healing power. So you'll have multiple ranks. I use 3 ranks of this at the moment. I use 1, 4, and 7, I believe. Prayer of Mending, amazing. So this is another new addition, and this is something I would want a priest in the group for because it's so efficient. Firstly, and if you can get lucky and it bounces between, say, 2 tanks that are taking damage stood next to each other, and it's just pinging, you can get some serious healing up. I was doing some tests last night, and I was keeping a dungeon group alive with just Prayer of Mending. It's just insane. It's absolutely insane. So you bring that anyway. So all priests bring these, obviously. I've not got onto the disc specific ones, but then you've got things like Power Word Shield as well, which is a nice, quick sort of absorb shield that you can just get out of trouble with. If you've let a tank dip too low, you can get a shield on them quickly and then obviously spam some flash heals. So as I say, there's a few that I've left off and you've got a hot, but I'm just trying to demonstrate the toolkit is so vast. I've left off the big party AoE heal, I've left off flash heal, which is your really quick heal, but you've got these quick heals, these long big heals, Binding Heals, absorbs, Prayer of Mending bouncing around, hots. It's crazy, absolutely. You've just got so many heals that you're going to be wanted. A healing priest is going to be wanted in every raid. But now it's, what do? Do you go disc or do you go holy? This is what I'm going to try and help with. So if you're disc, and I'm talking deep disc, you're going to get power infusion and pain suppression. Pain suppression is really good. So if there's specific phases on a boss maybe that you're struggling with, and you've got a druid tank who's got no cooldowns obviously other than bark skin, which you can barely ever use, you've got a 40% damage reduction cooldown that you can use now. Now this is going to come at a cost of your own personal healing, and what I mean by that is a holy priest will do more healing than a disc priest, flat out, no question about it. But you bring more stuff. You bring power infusion, so you can be using that on a mage, an arcane mage, or an elemental shaman, someone who's pumping out big numbers. So now you've got a DPS cooldown for them, you've got a survival cooldown for the tank. There could be, especially if you've already got a holy priest in the group, maybe this is 25 man we're talking about, you may take a personal loss on the healing meters, but to do so much more utility. So I can see the benefit in having a disc priest. But if you can survive, as in you haven't got a bear tank who's got no cooldowns and you're not struggling, or you have got a bear tank but you're not just generally not struggling, then I would probably opt for just picking this up. So improve Divine Spirit. So your Divine Spirit and Prayer of Spirit also increase your target spell damage and healing by an amount equal to 10% of their total spirit. So obviously you also get the Divine Spirit buff. This is just the improved version. So you're going to give the whole raid 50 spirit. Plus then, they're going to get the 10% of their spirit as spell power or healing. You want a priest in the group with this because it's good. It's free spell power and free plus healing. So obviously you want one person using it. Ultimately, you could do better healing if you didn't take this. So if you're the second holy priest, one priest is already rolling with DS, or imp DS, then you would probably want to go full holy and pick up circular healing. But what you're going to bring, so if we're just looking at this, you're going to bring a massive toolkit as a healer, being able to have a heal for every situation that's going, and also then bring in all the casters. If you go DS, you're bringing all the casters extra spell damage, you're bringing all the healers extra healing, and obviously you're just a solid healer. So you can see the benefits. But then if you go holy, so now we're talking, this isn't too deep holy, but I just want to take a second just to talk about Spirit of Redemption and why people use it wrong. So the reason I say people use it wrong, now it increases your total spirit by 5%, lovely, but obviously when you die, you for 15 seconds you can throw out unlimited heals free of cost. You could literally try and just get a renew on as many people as possible, throw out a prayer amending, a couple of flash of lights, whatever, just go absolutely mental. Now this is so powerful, but I never see anyone use it to its full potential. So if you're rolling with a warlock, and you've got a soul stone on you, and you're on a fight, your instinct tells you to try and stay alive, but there's no point. All you're actually doing is being detrimental to the raid by staying alive. So what you should actually do is run out of mana completely, not run out of run yourself completely. This is towards the end of a fight and you're already struggling for mana. Your mana pots are on cooldown. You've already used your Shadow Fiend. Now find something to die in very quickly. Spam out loads and loads of free heals and then pop back up with Soulstone with more mana than you actually died with. That to me is incredibly powerful. As I say, if used right. When we're 2 healing Prince, for example, I do that. If I start to struggle at the end of the fight because I'm healing with maybe an undergeared healer or something like that, as long as I've got Soulstone on me or a Balance or Resto Druid who stood there ready with a res, I will just suicide and get 15 seconds of completely free healing where you can pump out incredible numbers to stabilize everybody, then get back up with more mana than you had before. By the time all of that's happened, your mana pot's probably off cooldown. It's incredible. So what Holy Priest brings is this, and if used right, it's incredibly powerful. What they also bring is inspiration. So I know shamans bring this as well, and you can get it sort of from improved lay on hands from a paladin. But this is a nice bonus. To a good reason to have a Holy Priest. So increases your target's armor by 25% when you crit heal, basically with more or less every heal that you've got. No reason not to have it. I'm not saying it's unique, but it's not that common. Excuse me. Do you know what I mean? It's not that common, so it's it's worth counting basically. And then Circle of Healing. So it's so good. Circle of Healing. If you don't need improved Divine Spirit, I mean this you can just you do burn through your mana. You can burn through your mana if you use it wrong, but for raid healing, it's incredible. An instant cast, 5 target heal, just crazy, just absolutely crazy. And as I say, there's these heavy raid healing fights. You will want Circle of Healing priests. You will absolutely be, I would say, a necessity to be in the raid to be able to just throw out these big instant raid heals. You combine that with a prayer of healing, so you cast your prayer of healing and Circle of Healing straight after it. The numbers are mental. I mean, I wish I was deep holy, but at the moment I'm playing DS, but I can't wait till we get a DS priest so I can switch to holy. And then Lightwell. So Lightwell is pathetic, and I don't even know why I included it on here, if I'm perfectly honest. I just thought, well, it is unique. It's useless. I mean, you'll never ever have a raid leader saying, we want John to join the raid so he can bring Lightwell for everyone. It's a joke. It's pathetic. But, if you go deep holy, then you can get it if you want, but I wouldn't even waste a talent point. Now is the time. This is the good bit. This is what a priest is in TBC. They are my mana battery. So a Shadow Priest, what does a Shadow Priest bring, and why are they so ridiculously overpowered in TBC? It's not for their damage, it's for their support. So you've got Vampiric Embrace and Vampiric Touch. So Vampiric Touch, all shadow damage you do when you've got Vampiric Touch on the mob, you regenerate 5% mana to your party. Shadow Priests will be stacked. It's as simple as that. By hardcore progression guilds, most guilds will probably have 1 to 2 Shadow Priest in every party that has mana users in. And that's not an exaggeration. You could see raids with 7 to 8 Shadow Priests. Just, if anybody says that this is wrong, you're wrong. Because as long as the content's difficult, difficult enough, I'm seeing it already on Endless, people just stack Shadow Priests, because you'll put 2 Arcane Mages in, and let's say an Elemental Shaman with 2 Shadow Priests. You'll put 2 Shadow Priests in with 3 healers, 2 Shadow Priests in with another 3 healers. And it's not as if Shadow Priests do bad damage. They also do really, really solid damage. It's not like you're gimping your overall raid damage by bringing Shadow Priests, because they actually bang pretty hard. So no reason not to take them. You're not just bringing them for their mana. But they also do sick healing as well. So when they're keeping Vampiric Embrace up, you also get 10% extra from what you can see on the tooltip here. So the tooltip says 15%, but it's actually 25%. Mental. Yeah, it's mental. So they're putting 25% of their damage out as healing and giving the party 5% of their mana. Shadow Priests are a necessity, boys. 100% in raids. I don't like raiding even Karazhan without a Shadow Priest. Because, and as any class I play, I'm playing Holy Priest at the moment, but even as a feral DPS druid, I hate not having a Shadow Priest in the group, because it really sort of makes my power shift in life a lot more difficult without getting that massive mana return constantly. So, also bring a silence. Before I chuck that on, you might not even take this in the talents, but you probably should, because a silence is a nice extra little bit of sort of a little bit of extra abilities in your toolkit that will come in useful at some point. But I have seen certain Shadow Priest builds where you don't actually even spec into it, but I would 100% recommend taking it. That's it. They're the reasons why to bring them. So now just my thoughts on it all for you. So Disc and Holy, I see the benefits of having a Disc in the group. I also see the negatives of having a Disc in the group. I would only have a Discipline Priest in the group for improved Divine Spirit, and then get them to go all the way down in the Holy Tree, basically to improve Greater Heal. You'll get a couple of points and improve Greater Heal at the bottom. They're not... you need one improved Divine Spirit, and then the rest should just be full Holy with Circle of Healing. No question. But a Healing Priest in TBC is amazing. A Holy Priest is. The improved Divine Spirit Priest will be a little bit more gimped than the full Holy builds, but you're doing that for the raid. At the end of the day, it's the same that you want a Survival Hunter, and they'll want to be BM because BM does big damage, but you're doing it for the raid. Full Discipline, no, I don't see a place for it in raids unless you're really struggling and you need that cooldown, but your healing's going to be impaired so much that it almost... you need to work something out. Bringing that pain suppression, I'm sure, would be lovely for certain fights, but you need to find ways around bosses without using that, because Holy is just superior. You literally, you're bringing half a healer for a 2-minute cooldown or 3-minute cooldown, whatever it is. Not what I would recommend. Shadow Priests, if you are going Shadow in TBC, or you're on the fence between a Shadow Priest and any other class in the game, then you're making the right decision, because you'll get raid spots, you'll get guild invites, you'll be poached. Shadow Priests will be in high demand in everything, in heroic dungeons, normal dungeons, raids, just everything. You're going to be in high demand because they just bring so much. They bring so much to the group. If you sort of recap right to the beginning of the video, you've got CC, so you've got Shackle, you've got Fear Ward, you've got Vampiric Embrace, Vampiric Touch, you've got an AoE Fear that you can use. I know, you're not going to use it that much, but then you've also got the ability just to jump out of Shadow Form and then start using Binding Heal, Prayer Amending, Flash Heal, Renews. You're like a backup healer at the same time as giving everybody mana and doing really, really good damage. So... just to clarify, when I'm saying really good damage, I mean you'll keep up with the top. Maybe not Arcane Mages who have got double stacked Shadow Priests and Innovates, but you'll keep up with regular DPS. You'll be probably just behind sort of Hunters and Warlocks, which there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a really, really good Shadow Priest, you could be ahead of them. So, but that ties it up. So my thoughts: if you're going to go Shadow or you're going to go Holy, you're going to have a banging time in TBC. If you're going to go Disc, then maybe you want to just think about PvPing a bit more, or only going down to Divine Spirit. But overall, you're in an absolutely great place. So if you like the video, make sure you chuck it a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing one of these for each class. There's a giveaway at 5k subscribers, which is going to take a while to get there. I would imagine. It took nearly 3 months or over 3 months to get to 1k, but it is going up nicely. So who knows? I'd like to start getting to these giveaways, and there's giveaways over on Twitch as well. So make sure you follow me on Twitch, Scottejaye87, and come and watch me. I'm on most nights. So, yep. Peace out.